User policies in Insight define how user activity is monitored, governed, and controlled across an organization. Since every organization has different requirements, these policies let you apply rules that match how your teams actually work and control how user activity is monitored and managed. User policies also function as the rulebook that determines what Insight watches for and what action it takes when it detects something risky. This covers several areas. A user policy can monitor how people use applications and websites, restrict risky behavior such as plugging in an unapproved USB drive, protect sensitive data as it moves through emails, uploads, or keystrokes, and apply the same set of rules across a whole group of users at once, rather than configuring each person individually. The following steps outline how to create one. Navigate to Insight. Then User Policies. This is where every policy in the organization is managed. Click New User Policy to begin. This opens the Policy Info step, where the basic details of the policy are set before moving into the detailed configuration. If an existing policy is close to what's needed, select it under Import Settings, and Insight will carry over its settings as a starting point, rather than building everything from scratch. Enter a policy name. Keep it clear, since this is how the policy will be identified later. Add a description. A clear description makes it easier to understand what the policy does without having to open it and check. If this policy is meant to be the organization's new default, select Set as Default Policy. Only one policy can be a default policy at a time, so enabling it here replaces whatever was previously set as default. This raises a distinction worth clarifying. Every organization starts with a base policy. The one Insight applies to new users by default. A default policy is any policy that has been explicitly marked as default, using the checkbox just covered. In other words, the base policy is the built-in fallback, and the default policy is whichever policy has been set to take its place. Once the details are filled in, click Continue. Next is the environment setting, where the specifics of what Insight monitors and controls are configured across applications, websites, devices, and network activity. Enable application usage to monitor which applications users are running. To go further and restrict certain applications, enable block application. This is useful for keeping unauthorized software out of the environment, such as file sharing tools, unapproved cloud storage apps, remote access software, or peer-to-peer clients, all of which can expose data if left unchecked. To configure this, click Detail next to Blocked Applications. Search for the application to block, select it, and click Confirm. If the application isn't listed, enter its name and click Add Application. Enter the name in uppercase and include the file extension, for example whatsapp.exe, since that's the format Insight recognizes. Then select it and confirm. Enable website usage to monitor which websites users are visiting. To also restrict certain sites, enable Block Website. This works the same way as blocking applications, covering file-sharing sites, unauthorized cloud platforms, or other sites not relevant to work. Click Detail, search for the website, select it, and click Confirm. If it isn't listed, enter the URL, click Add Website, select it, then Confirm. USB and storage device control determines how removable drives are handled. There are 3 options. Off applies no monitoring or restriction. Block prevents any files from being copied to USB or external storage. Monitor tracks what's being transferred, flags sensitive content, and records changes made to files on the device. The right choice depends on the level of exposure the organization is comfortable with. For most organizations handling sensitive data, Monitor provides visibility without blocking activity outright. Enable Archive files to monitor compressed files, such as zip or RAR archives. This matters because sensitive data can be concealed inside compressed files before being transferred or shared. Password-protected archives and password-protected documents can also be enabled. Insight cannot read the contents of password-protected files, but it can still track their movement. Enable Image and Document OCR to detect sensitive information embedded in images and documents. This matters because sensitive data isn't always presented as plain text. It may appear in a screenshot or scan form, which standard text scanning would otherwise miss. Enable Display Icon in System Tray to display the Insight agent icon on the user's device. This lets users see that their activity is being monitored. 2 further settings apply to document and email classification. Classify Office documents requires users to apply a classification label before saving a file in Microsoft Office. Classify emails in Outlook applies the same requirement to outgoing emails. Both ensure sensitive information is identified at the point of creation, and depending on how labels are configured, this can include headers, footers, or watermarks indicating sensitivity. Once these settings are configured, click Continue. This opens data type selection. Where the previous step defined what Insight monitors, this step defines what it's looking for. Click Add Data Types to view the list of predefined data types Insight can detect. Select the data types relevant to the organization, such as financial details, personal information, or identification numbers, and click Add Data Types to confirm the selection. For each data type, click Edit in the Action column. To apply the same configuration to several data types at once, select them and use Apply Bulk instead. Select the activities each data type applies to. This can include email bodies, email attachments, website uploads, application uploads, printed files, keystrokes, website posts, storage media transfers, or document access, covering the range of channels sensitive data could pass through. Then select an action mode. There are 4 options. Off applies no action. Block stops the activity outright the moment the data type is detected. For example, preventing an email from being sent. Monitor allows the activity to proceed, but logs it for record. Warn notifies the user that the data type has been detected, while still allowing the activity to continue. The choice depends on the sensitivity of the data and the amount of friction that's appropriate. Block is suited to the highest risk data, since preventing the action removes the risk entirely. Monitor is useful where visibility is needed without disrupting workflow. Warn provides a middle ground, prompting better handling without blocking the action. Click Apply to this row to confirm the configuration. To clear a selection, click Clear this row. Once all data types have been configured, click Continue. The final step is to review the configuration. This is the point to confirm everything is correct before the policy takes effect. Click Confirm, and the policy is created. A policy has no effect until it's assigned to users, so the next step is assignment. Navigate to User Policies. Locate the policy, and click Assign Users in the Actions column. Filter by security group, or search for a specific user directly. Select the users to assign, then click Assign. If any selected users are already assigned to a different policy, a confirmation prompt appears. Click Yes, Assign to proceed. This replaces their existing policy. Once policies are in place, they'll need to be reviewed, updated, or occasionally removed. Here's how each of those is handled. To review a policy's configuration, click View in the Actions column. This opens the full overview, including applied rules, activities, and enforcement settings, without entering edit mode. To make a change, click Edit. Update the relevant details, and click Confirm to save. To remove a policy, click the Delete icon in the Actions column. A confirmation prompt appears. Click Yes, Delete to finalize. This action is permanent, so it's worth confirming that no users are still assigned to the policy first. Data types can also be updated on an existing policy without editing the policy as a whole. Navigate to User Policies. Locate the policy, and click Data Types in the Actions column. Find the data type to update and click Edit. Update the configuration and click Apply to this row to save the change. Data types can also be added or removed from the same screen. Once all changes are complete, click Submit. That covers user policies and Insight, from creation through to assignment and ongoing management. Once a policy is active, Insight applies it immediately, monitoring activity, flagging risk, and enforcing the configured rules. To get a complete overview of GuardWare and its features, visit the documentation site at docs.guardware.com.